Like
Hey, welcome. We're
the sun's
trying to be cool guy.
yeah.
We're not cool guy.
The sun's just barely coming around the corner of the courthouse,
Mm.
so I'm not. I just have to squint when I need.
Next
to
week it'll be Furniff. Furniff around the courthouse.
We're in Indiana, if you didn't know.
Yeah, how about it?
Filming in
Welcome
Indiana.
to Indiana. I'm just a small town pizza lawyer.
On election
That is
night.
more
It's
so
election
going
night.
on.
Well, I almost-
It is.
It is.
It is like
I almost
Breaking news.
mentioned the small town pizza lawyer to a group of people who would have had no idea.
Oh, that would be
And I
awesome.
was like,
they
wait,
wouldn't have got it. Yeah,
It's okay.
You gotta watch
but
that.
If,
bring
you
that
know,
out.
it's one of those things. Like if I have this attitude of if one person gets it,
That's all I
It's
need.
okay.
that didn't really work well with my boss in radio. But you know,
It's a bigger audience. It's a lot easier to find one person that gets it there.
Well, and my cousin and I would joke about that, and so like he's actually a comedian, touring comedian. Maybe not so much now; he's a spokesman, does some other stuff. But he would in his show, he would say, if I could just make one person laugh tonight, I'm in a lot of trouble. So
I didn't laugh at that one.
so we are here. We're outside. We're
Nice.
we're finally outside.
Finally getting some nice weather, and
Yeah, we hit 80 today officially.
Yeah.
we kind of skipped over spring.
Yeah, though there were a
That
couple
was a
of
lot.
really nice
Yeah.
days. The
It might be
last
back.
year.
You
Yeah,
I
who
hope so.
knows? Yeah, we may
I
still
hope
get
so.
snow.
No,
Just still
no,
get
I
some
just
Just
snow.
never know.
don't put that kind of hate on us.
Yeah, you never know. You just never know. So we're outside in this Baby Meets tonight, and we
Yeah.
are all here.
We're
We're all here. So
It's good.
we'll have
Amazing.
some cars in the
No
background.
guests this week. We've kind of got a pattern in the last couple weeks of having guests.
We
got
did
no
have a
guests
couple
this
of weeks of guests. That's right. We'll just
Yeah.
have guests. Will be cars driving by,
week. Right, or people walking by.
people walking by, maybe hooting
Pull
and
some people
hollering.
by, ask
Hopefully,
what
no
their
bars
questions-
emptying out for fights or anything like that.
Right.
That's not what we're trying to tape.
We'll hand out some attorney cards for criminal
Yes.
prosecutions.
There we go.
You got just keep the cards ready.
You never know.
So
Not that
we are.
really many bars have broken out, or fights have been broken out here at Misbehaving Meads. Tends to be
Yeah.
pretty chill.
This is extremely chill.
It's a
Yeah,
great place to sit outside.
great place to sit outside. Oh yeah.
What's surprising, speaking of outside, so now Ricochet has theirs up,
Mhm.
but it's been like hard for people to commit to it because
The weather's been
the
awesome.
weather's been so weird.
Yeah,
So
Pereira got theirs all cleaned up. It's like ready to go. It's like all cleaned out. Everything's all.
I
good.
noticed
They've
when I was walking over here, I
stripped it
didn't
all
have
up.
to walk around the fence.
Yeah.
So they're not up yet.
They're not up. So, but they're ready. It looks like they're preparing.
They're getting close. I know a few other places are out. I guess I haven't seen if everybody's out yet. I'm trying to remember who else. I saw Blue Point and Radius had theirs out. I don't know if the Furin has outdoor seating.
That's
The
that new Japanese place?
Yeah.
The Japanese place.
Have you been there yet?
I
Have you tried it?
She's
I
a big.
did,
she's a big
yeah.
fan.
I went during like the opening week, so
Yeah.
I don't think it was officially open.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Yeah?
There's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there.
I had their like popcorn. I think there's shrimp with popcorn shrimp, which isn't really
Oh,
traditionally
very Japanese.
Yeah.
You went to a Japanese place and got
Americana.
Well, no,
I
as
think
an
there's a Japanese place that
appetizer.
had French
Oh,
fries.
okay.
And then we got their sushi, which was pretty good.
Okay.
I got their yakisoba.
Okay.
That
What
was
is
good too.
yakisoba?
Have you been up
It's
to?
like fried noodles.
Have you been
with
up
the
to
sauce.
Bangkok?
We did. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's
I like
good, too.
that.
Yeah.
How does this compare?
It's
Same.
a little bit
little
different because Bangkok's a little more Thai. This one's
Yeah.
a little bit more Japanese.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
one of my
Interesting.
favorite Asian ones is asparagus in Maribel.
Oh, asparagus.
Is that
Never
Asian?
been there.
They're great.
Never
Really,
been
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they're
They're
wouldn't have
great
guessed.
for
They're,
like
they're
Thai,
Thai
Asian.
fried rice.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's
Really?
on point. Oh, I love
Yeah.
their Thai fried rice. Is amazing.
like that.
I can't
I'm gonna put that on my
Tips from the restaurant.
That's right.
from the restaurant.
Yeah.
Before eating
CCSK
out.
Law, where we critique all the finest restaurants
Yeah,
in
that's
town.
right.
Yeah. Furin, you should go. It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try it. They're open for lunch, right?
I don't know.
I'll have to check.
Probably.
Probably.
I would imagine
I'm
that.
gonna guess. I think that they're
That
like.
might be a good little walk over to lunch one day.
Yeah.
What's cool about Valpo? We have all these kind of international
Yeah.
restaurants.
I remember way back before I was going to go to law school, when I was kind of scoping out the town online and trying to, and like the university had used pictures of students kind of like sitting outside over
Yeah.
here. And I said, oh yeah, walk down from campus. And then I got here, I'm like, yeah, no, that's a little walk. It kind of made it feel like that.
It
like
is surprising
walk,
how
but
many
it's a
students do
car.
that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, I guess
Well, if you're
especially
living on
maybe they
campus.
live on this side. Yeah.
If you're living on campus, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
a problem to walk down here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
to
I
live somewhere
IU,
else and
I probably walked just as far.
oh, and
You
I
know.
walked just as far at
Yeah.
Hanover. But what I think is that again, if you live there, you're coming here and going back. But if you live somewhere else and you drive to campus,
Yeah.
and you got to come
Yeah.
back and
I
come back to your
get-
car,
I
then you got
see
to
what
decide where you're
you're
going to go,
I
and
see
just
what you're saying.
kind of on the way, you might as well just drive over.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So
But I guess speaking of international,
Oh yes.
Jeff Sessions came out with something today,
Today.
About handling immigration policy.
Yep. So I don't know if you guys heard, but
I
he
did not.
announced a zero tolerance policy for illegal border crossing.
Okay.
So what he's meant, or what he stated, was that if you cross the border illegally, which basically means that you didn't go through border patrol,
Mm-hmm.
you either essentially you just what everyone imagines crossed illegally. Normally what happens is if you're caught, you're just bussed back, and there's no really serious ramifications as far as being prosecuted or anything like that.
Right.
You're usually just bussed back because these people are usually fleeing harm a lot of times. But under this policy, what it means is that people who are caught could be prosecuted. So crossing the border is the first time is a misdemeanor. You can serve in prison for 6 months. If you're a multiple violator, up to 2 years in prison. And what this also means, which is why you might have seen it in the press, and it's a really big issue, is a lot of times families cross over together.
Mm-hmm.
And if families cross over together, what he's saying is that he will prosecute the parents, but there's a law that immigrant children can't go and, or illegal, essentially, undocumented children can't be put in jail, so they essentially would be separated from their parents. So this is causing a big humanitarian issue about separating families. Also, there's concern about how this is affecting asylum. So for asylum, the U.S. is a signatory to the Refugee Convention, 1951 and
1951 and 1967.
I looked up the dates. I wasn't exactly sure. I knew it was the 50s. So we're a signatory to
You're
that.
doing hide behind that?
So what that means,
We're fine.
you can just hide.
It's fine. Or just making sure that people understand that we are not about legal mumbo
Trying to
jumbo
get to
here.
the sound of where I think.
Yeah, the sound also.
I'm
No, and
breaking
the sound,
down
yeah.
asylum.
Right.
I'm breaking it down.
Breaking down
So,
asylum. Soul
what
asylum?
that means, so we're
They're coming to
Coming to
Popcorn
Popcorn
Fest.
Festival.
Yeah, Soul
who
asylum.
is?
Soul
Soul
Asylum.
asylum.
What's their
Band from the
The
90s.
band.
Oh,
A lot of
you
good
would
stuff.
sing.
I'll put Misery is one of their songs. That's one that's
Sorry,
I'm sure I would know it.
There's- you'll hear it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
But this is not about soul asylum.
This is not about
Yet.
soul asylum. Okay.
No.
U.S. asylum.
Okay.
So there's concern, right? Because if you come to the border, and under this U.S. convention that we're a signatory to, U.S. has a legal responsibility. If you get to the border and you don't have any visa, which is a piece of paper that says you can enter,
Mhm.
if you say you're afraid to go back to your country, the U.S. has to legally parole you in, which essentially they're not giving you status, but they're bringing you in
To
so
check
that
everything.
they can give you what's called a credible fear interview.
Okay.
So what they do is they have an immigration officer, border patrol officer will question you to make sure that your fear is credible.
Sure.
Essentially, that you actually do have a fear.
Another guest.
And the fear has to be based on persecution, either that happened or will happen,
Sure.
based on race, religion, nationality, social group, or political opinion. So, it's
Ambulance.
First responders on the
Yeah.
way.
so this is a concern, that, they're not, that they won't be bringing these people in, effectively.
Why would they
Um,
think that those people wouldn't come in?
I'm sorry?
I said, why would they think that those people wouldn't be able to come in?
Because a lot of what's been happening is that they've been finding that the Border Patrol agents aren't letting them in. They're stopping them at the border and not giving them the chance to plead. Or
I guess I see the two as separate because they're talking about people that don't come illegal, but people come to them legally to the front door and say, hey, look, we need in because you would hope that'd be handled differently.
Right.
Well, a couple weeks back, there was a big talk about this caravan of people coming out of Central America, escaping from Honduras. and- And there was talk about whether they're being prepped to say what they need to say. Regardless of that, the thing I always thought, well, you're in Mexico. Do you really need to keep coming, or why can't you just stop in Mexico if you're trying to get away from Honduras? I mean, it's just
You're away.
they're all walking. I mean, I think, hey, I've made it out of my country.
Yeah.
Why can't I stop here? And I don't know what
So-
Mexican rules are, but
So you're not, if you're just traveling through and you travel through other countries, under your asylum law, like you don't have to stay in whatever country you get to first, right? You just can't have any type of status in this country. So if Mexico is like, here, all you guys can have, residency or something, then they wouldn't be able to come
Right.
to the U.S. and
Yeah.
apply for asylum.
I guess the whole asylum thing confuses me because if you're just trying to get out of the country because that's where you're getting persecuted,
Hmm.
the first country I'm out, I'm free. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, from that, if the purpose is fear of persecution, I'm safe in Mexico. I'm safe in
So not necessarily, because a lot of
Australia,
countries,
or I mean, wherever it might be. Wherever I can get to, I'm out of the country.
so a lot of countries don't honor it, right? So they'll just immediately deport you back. Or a lot of times, like especially with asylees from like Africa, they're, even if they're in like a refugee camp or somewhere where they're safe, a lot of times these countries like Eritrea will send people over to essentially
To try
like
to get 'em and
kidnap
bring
the
'em back.
people who
Wow.
are in these refugee camps. Or a lot of times these countries, they don't process your asylum, or they'll deny it. So the U.S. is one of the
Okay,
few
Dennis.
countries to actually do.
It's
But
our
this
tips
is-
from the bar night.
So back to the U.S. portion of this, you're getting back to kind of the issue there with thinking that they might not. I mean, obviously they need to uphold the current asylum situation and handle that
Mhm.
the way they're supposed to.
Mhm.
But
And then, well, as far as those like the zero tolerance policy, again, I mean, it's kind of you can take your stance on it. I'm just kind of relaying what the effects are, and
right.
essentially that's
Yeah, I would
You
just
know.
it would hope that wouldn't affect, because it's two separate things. There's one when they come seeking asylum, saying, "Hey, I'm here, I'm coming to you," which they should be obviously welcomed and say, "Hey, come here, okay, go through the process. Let's talk about it. What's going on with get questioned." Versus somebody who's comes across and is later caught and says, "Hey, yeah, well, we just came over."
There's major practical effects to this as well, though.
Sure.
In terms of there's how many people per day cross the border? I mean,
it's been going
thousands,
down.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
but-
it's been decreasing.
Okay.
recently,
Well,
but
yeah.
and it comes in waves. When different Central or
Sure.
South American
Sure.
countries are having either a lot of violence, sometimes typically
Yeah.
like gang violence, things like that. These people are crossing, and a lot of times they don't state that they're afraid of the border. They just cross over to be safe, and then
Right.
Yeah.
at that time, so and then the U.S. can grant them the other forms,
But the question is, how do we detain them?
right?
Where do we hold them?
Yeah.
You're going to now flood the perhaps the system with children into I mean, if you're going to now separate the families, you got to hold the parents somewhere, and then you got to process the children separately. There's a whole lot of just resources that will have to be allocated versus just shipping them back on the bus if that's what you think.
Mhm.
If
Well,
that's the
but
way
you
to
won't. I
run,
mean,
or
hopefully the
How?
people would understand. Hey, okay, it's not a good idea anymore to go ahead and cross
as a deterrent.
as a
As a
deterrent.
deterrent,
Let's go
yeah.
ahead and let's go to the gate and make our plead our case.
But then
because they're not going to separate the kids from the families at the gates. That's not what they're talking about.
yeah, but they're already taking a shot coming over here. I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
But the
I
other
mean,
thing
if
that they
they're-
were doing is they were basically, if I understand it correctly, and I sort of have paid attention to it, they were saying, okay, you're here improperly. You're going to have to show up for a hearing.
Mm.
Here's where you have to be when. See you then. And then
Mhm.
they wouldn't
that was
show.
right.
And so, yeah, there's resource issues, but there's also sort of this false narrative of, are we really doing anything other than just letting them in anyway? And creating this growing class of undocumented immigration people, because if you're not really doing something when you have them present to actually move them down the line, you're
Right.
perpetuating
Well,
the
and
that's why the
problem.
whole
part of the
process need to
whole
be revamped.
issue is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the immigration courts are so backlogged. So that's their attempt of kind of eliminating this backlog of giving everyone, just.
Right.
But essentially, though, again, like you said, if they're going to prosecute them, doesn't
Everyone.
that just backlog it more?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
it's.
could.
And I think separating.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going to. I guess I mean to interrupt. I don't know if there's a camp out at the courthouse, but I've now seen like 30 or 40 people rolling in, like, you see everybody rolling in suitcases? Like these people just got out, 2 people, and they've got like their little walk behind suitcases. And they're all going into the courthouse, which
But it's
I thought
not
was
kids.
closed. No, it's like adults. I don't know what it is, but they're all going in the front, and there's name tags on, and What's
Interesting.
going on
So
in the
maybe an
courthouse?
event.
Is it an election thing related?
Oh, good
That
call.
makes sense.
Okay.
That makes a lot of
That
sense.
makes a total sense. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's why we have the
That makes
suitcases.
a light bulb.
I forgot they do that in the courthouse. I was thinking they did that
Where
over
there's
at
no young
the
people.
clerk's office.
Feeling
Oh.
mighty smart at the
All
moment.
these- Were y'all poll workers?
Huh?
Were you poll workers?
See, that's right.
Yeah,
We're right.
okay.
Awesome.
We were
Thank you.
curious why so many people were taking suitcases into the courthouse.
Can't say.
I thought maybe it was a big slumber party at the courthouse I didn't get invited
Like,
to.
what is going on?
Come on down to the
So,
courthouse for the slumber
well, that
party.
makes total sense. So yeah, our polls just closed like within the hour. 6 o'clock our time.
6 o'clock our time. So
I'm surprised there was that need for that many suitcases based on what I've heard about the turnout.
Yeah.
Probably could have brought them in a few envelopes.
who knows?
Yeah, the
don't
turnout
know.
was supposedly light.
Interesting. I'm interested to see what the outcome is going to be with the prosecutor race.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, and
Because
this
Gary
is
German's
just,
coming. Or is it German?
German.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going. That's going to be interesting.
and I don't even know who's on what side of the ticket because this is just the primary.
Primaries.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think Gensel's got the Republicans locked down and German's running for the Democrats, but I don't think that
Was there
he's
somebody
got
else
any- I
running
don't
for the
think there's anybody
Democrats?
else running for the Democrats.
There
I'm
was
interested to see the ultimate outcome.
it
of this
appeared to
election.
be a heated race for Center Township Board.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Saw several different signs there, and coroner, a couple of different coroners.
corners. Saw those.
Okay. But it'll
Yeah.
be fun.
So, and
Like
then at
how?
the state level, big battle in the Senate Republican primary for who will take on Joe Donnelly in the fall.
Yes.
One guy self-financed, Mike Braun, is the early leader, as I heard some coming
Really?
in. He self-financed his campaign.
Yeah.
And then Mike Rotiga, the former AG, is he the AG? I think he's
Oh.
the AG. Yeah.
Yeah,
Todd,
go
did I
for
say
it.
Mike? Todd
Yeah.
Rokita.
Saturday.
And then there was someone else. Sorry. This is how up on. Did I vote today? I will admit that now. What was it?
When
Right.
we're all
All
having
sorts
to
of
ask,
music
what's
things.
in the?
I know. I like it.
Right.
When we're also asking what's at the courthouse.
Yeah. Well,
I
my
don't think you
and
can
kids
say.
were off school
What
today.
could have
Yeah.
happened today?
Yeah. What the heck? Why is there so much activity at our core of our?
Kids were off school today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's so many schools that have
The
election
voting
sites.
centers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at some point they decided that was a
Like,
risk.
we'll just take the day off.
Yeah.
My kids loved it. They had no complaints.
Yeah. It
So,
was a nice day.
so I
So,
think the question is it about getting information to people that are considering coming across? To go back to wrap this up, do we think do they need? Because I know they get information coming across. Do you think that they're going to get more information now to say, hey,
Yeah,
try to go
and,
this way first?
I think it's kind of a larger, humanitarian issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't advocate for people to cross the border illegally, right?
No.
Like, I'm not
You do.
I'm not advocating for
It's
that.
like,
and
hey, and when you get here, come
this is what you
give me a call. Give me a call and I'll
Um,
help you work through the
I'm
process.
not advocating for that. And, the government, when people cross, the government does not like it.
No.
If you have one border crossing, illegal border, and again, illegal, we call it undocumented, or entry without inspection. If you have one of those, in rare instances, you might be able to leave and then come back in with a green card. Very rare instances. If you're curious about that, you can contact me.
There you go.
But otherwise, if you have more than one border crossing, without any, again, EWI without inspection, you're pretty much banned from a lot of types of
Well,
relief.
and that's what I'm saying.
you
It
know?
doesn't seem like it seems like
So-
somebody would tell them, "Hey, this is not a good
That's the
idea."
best idea.
So
Yeah.
in order to maybe stop that is one option, the U.S. opening up more of these humanitarian options, like temporary protected status,
Right.
where they're allowed to come in while there are these, horrible
You go talk to the legislature.
humanitarian disasters,
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Like they're gonna get anything
But
done.
they've been
I
ending
know.
TPS, temporary protected status as well. So,
Okay.
I think it's a larger issue, and I think people are upset because, again, kids are involved and they're separating kids. And again, I'm
Sure.
not advocating for people to cross the border.
Well, some of that's on
illegally,
the parents for
Yeah.
doing
but
that.
it's,
So some of it's on the parents for doing
Yeah.
that. You got to
Yeah.
give some responsibility there for
But,
making that.
you
Sorry,
know,
but still, but yeah, I
it's
guess.
like how do we account for it? And there's
Mhm.
I have so many thoughts on changing the immigration system.
Oh, I know,
but,
right?
I mean, where do you begin? You know what I mean?
But the thing is,
I-
I think that's what they're doing. They're saying, well, where do you begin? Well, we're not going to.
Yeah, they don't do
Well,
anything.
Yeah.
immigration
Right.
reform is something that is not exactly. I mean, I know that people have kind of talked about it, but
I mean, look at DACA. It was
Yeah.
that
one of
DACA is
the
a great
easiest-
example of everyone
easiest
bipartisan.
things.
Everybody agreed to
bipartisan.
it.
Everybody agreed. to let these children who enter
We agree.
no fault of their own
Yeah.
let them become citizens. They've been raised here. They have degrees here. They work here. They contribute to the economy. It's nothing. So,
But then too many people wanted more
yeah,
with
they
regard
wanted
to
to.
tack on things
Yeah,
that had nothing
yeah,
to do with
both
the
sides.
main
Both
That's probably
sides.
probably what we need to establish first is that one bill, one law.
Oh, germaneness?
Yes.
Indiana has something called germaneness within their constitution. It means that if they pass a bill, it has to be only focused on one particular subject. You can't tack on extra things on top of it.
Non-related things.
Non-related
Non-related.
things. And there's measures to determine what is considered related and not. But the United States Constitution doesn't have anything like that. Germaneness is something that, and they would argue
That's
that
how
it
you
would
get your
hurt
bridges to
efficiency.
nowhere.
I always imagine Schoolhouse Rock.
Bridges to
when we
Exactly.
talk about this.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Is
so
it germaneness or germaneness?
Don't get Gary involved. He'll say it's Germaine.
Yeah,
No, you're right.
That's
It's
the problem.
it's Germaine.
Well,
That's
and
a
the
big part.
And the problem is, this is why I didn't vote, because I'm just fed up with the process. And you get people who won't put a single item up for vote because no one wants to be held accountable for a single item, because it's a thumbs up, thumbs down, and I'm either saying yes or no. And
Right, but
you'd
you
have to
have
take
to commit to an aside on it.
So,
where
like,
if it's this big
if I
case, well, I said
bury
yes
it and all
because
this
of
other
this.
stuff, right? Exactly.
Yep.
So you,
But I
you're able
didn't
to
want that. But I said
cop
this. I
out.
can
you
always
have
do
to commit to a policy, to a particular stance on a policy. You have to actually spend more time on each individual policy.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but
don't get me
probably
wrong,
less
Okay,
because
and
you're
you
not
might only
burying 35,000 things
Yeah.
in
But at
one
least you
one
got
thing.
stuff done.
No, I think
But
that
that's-
should be
but I
more
think there's-
efficient.
Well, but
yeah,
you'd also
but-
know yes and no. I mean, because that's the other part of it. None of this stuff's actually coming up for a vote because no one's going to
But I
bring
mean,
it
and
forward.
when it does, who the hell has time to read?
Well, they don't give
2,000
enough time.
pages.
Right.
Yeah,
But there
It's like
goes,
here, you got
why
24 hours
should
to read
you-
this and go.
yeah.
Do you really need 2,000 pages in any
No,
bill?
No.
no.
That's
Last
again part of the problem.
legalese.
That's right.
Yes.
That's mumbo.
Remove
But at
all
least
the
in
heretofores.
Indiana they're moving towards it because now there's no more theretofores.
Yes.
That's right.
So we're trying
Heretofores
to
and-
heretofore, theretofore.
That's good.
Yep.
That has all been kind of struck.
Yeah, here under.
So
Yeah, a lot of those
like here
legalese
under.
words that are being
here under's
taken
not.
out.
That's
Here
not-
under, here
I wish.
I've never. I don't think I've
Theretofore.
ever used it.
Yeah.
I
In
gave-
drafting contracts, I've used.
I gave
I've used
Isaac some
herein.
grief the other day.
Well, that was for where. That was
That's for
whereas,
Therefore,
but
therefore.
Which
But that's
I
okay.
do
That's
like
okay.
therefore,
Therefore is
I like
allowed.
therefore
Therefore
too.
is okay.
I thought
It's
therefore
there.
was
It's theretofore that's the problem.
there. 2-4 is not okay.
Therefore, I've
There's
been
no
using
need to have that.
since high
It's
school.
fine when you're
Yeah.
talking to attorneys, but like I said,
Therefore is
I
okay.
thought
It's
therefore was
theretofore.
more.
But when it's therefore, whereas, I mean, that's what it all leads up to.
No,
I'm
it's
like,
the opposite of that. It's whereas,
therefore.
Oh, therefore, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Right. Whereas, that's what it was.
Yep.
But it's just that.
I'm with you. Whereas
I took it out
doesn't
anyway. I'm
need to
like, that. I
be- yeah,
just used
whereas
that.
doesn't need to be in there.
This-
But therefore, I think that's pretty straightforward. Therefore, we we agree as follows. That's what it would be stating in a contract.
Or, I mean, actually, the court petitions come that way.
The court petitions as
Yeah,
well.
But they've all shifted to that.
Yep.
That.
But simplifying contracts is that's a whole movement. It's a whole campaign that I'm working
It's
on.
good, but it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
potentially hazardous.
Well,
You got to be careful with that.
the reason that the legal world moves so slowly is because we work on case precedent. What that means is that there's a clause from 100 years ago that's in a contract that a court upheld. And because a court upheld it 100 years ago, that case has been referenced through multiple times, and it's going to stay in that contract. And lawyers are afraid to move in or change that language
Right.
because we already know that it
Then
works
it can be
because
called
of
into
the court.
question.
Because it can be called
Yeah.
into question. However, that's legal mumbo jumbo that really isn't easy to understand these days. And so there is a movement, such as this Indiana bill that's coming out, to change statutory language to simplify it so people can read it and actually understand it. But same thing in contracts. For
Yeah.
example, if you read Google's terms and conditions, then you can, I know, right? You would think it'd be like insane, but you read it and it's like, wow, I can understand everything that it's saying here.
If you can stay awake long enough.
And you can stay
through
awake
it.
to actually
Right,
read through it. If
right.
anybody
Yeah.
ever clicked that button.
Well, I had my my Amex app. I needed to pay my bill, and so I brought it up on the app, and it was I could not have scrolled enough to get through that thing. Plus the hyperlinks to go to like the sub. I'm like, okay,
The hyperlinks.
I need to pay my bill.
Yeah.
Okay, I accept it. So I think if I ever get a dog, they get it.
But that's an entire contract movement I'm working on. I'm saying that you have the opportunity to turn law into an asset where you can actually promote your business
Glad you
while
finished that
protecting
out.
it.
Right, I was gonna say because there's a lot of
You kind of paused there a little
lawyers that other like.
Turn
they're
law
often accused.
into
bit. An asset.
An asset.
yeah. But honestly, you can turn contracts. Everybody sees contracts as this like just hurdle that they got to get past.
They're gonna get tricked.
They're going to get tricked.
Yeah.
There's something that has a
But
lot
that's
of
what happens. How many times have we gotten involved in conversations where the contract's written by one party and it is totally in favor of the other party, and the person doesn't know how to, act? Can I really? I can't go to AT&T and say, you know what, page 3, bullet point 14. They're not going to change it for me,
Right.
And so again, what are you going to do with it?
And
you
sometimes
come
that's,
talk to me.
Come
Well, you're not
talk
going to
Isaac, or
change
you-
AT&T's
I'll
contract.
I'll change
Or you
AT&T's
Go
contract.
find a
now.
different. Go find a different. place
Yeah,
to
and
work
that's
with.
basically
all
what
you
they
do is shop.
But
Yeah.
the other thing about those contracts is they don't hold as much water as what the company would have you believe
sure.
as well,
Right.
because they are
Sure.
so overbearing.
Possibly what's called unconscionable.
Right.
I like the releases for the school system when they're taking your kids on a.
We can murder your child and it's okay. You can't hold it against
I mean,
us.
no,
Can't
that's
sue
about
us.
how bad it is. But the funny thing is, I'll mark the lines out and I'll change stuff.
Lots of
Never
things.
have I had anybody even question it.
Really?
So,
Yep.
Well, this new campaign that I'm working on, and it's actually a whole program. I'm going to get a website launched on it. I'm going to be able to help people out, make a modern movement towards actually making a contract that has your logo on it. It's going to have the font that's consistent with your website. You can make it easy to understand. So when your clients read through that, they go, wow, I'm actually more likely to work with this person. I understand everything that they're saying here. It's something that you can actually use to
So
promote your business.
It's not going to be 40 pages. It'll be simple.
It's going to be simple. And yes, it's going to be simple. To so much so that what I'm calling it is CCSK's Simple K.
Because
Nice.
K is the abbreviation of the contract.
That
would be legal.
It's my last name. Begins with a K.
I know, that's counterintuitive. but it's catchy, And I
It's
think that's
catchy
what
legally.
does.
And then we have a whole nother
Simple
thing that's
K.
going on. It's the CCSK Special K.
We don't. We sell cereal, but not the drug. All right. that's the cereal. But no,
There's a
they wouldn't
drug
let me
called
use
Special
that.
K.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's
Isaac must.
Oh, really?
yeah.
There's
Okay.
a drug called
There's a drug called Special K. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the cereal, but we're not talking
Yeah.
about the
But
cereal.
we're
We're
not
talking
also
about
not
Simple
talking
K.
about
We're
Right.
talking about
Right.
On
Killers
that
would not
note-
let me use their
No.
name on that.
No relation.
But anyway, I wanted to make a quick plug about that because I think that was kind of the movement of where a lot of legal stuff is going. And we try to be progressive with the law. We try to be friendly. We try to be down to earth. We can draft contracts that can actually reflect that as well.
Nice. Before we wrap up here and get done, it's almost 10 after. I know we started late, so
Yeah,
a little
there's
flare
one.
for it. But check out northernIndianabankruptcy.com.
That's right.
We have a link on there if you're interested. You can put in your email address, name, and zip code. I think are the 3 required ones.
Talk about simplifying bankruptcy
it'll-
and the process. and
You
trying
get a
to
free
understand
ebook on bankruptcy. Talk about chapter 7s and 13s and
it. Yeah,
get you some information. And if you have any questions, give us a call.
it's
What is
really
it?
well broken
Northern-
down.
Northern Indiana Bankruptcy.
Northern Indiana bankruptcy.
NorthernIndianaBankruptcy.com.
Yep.
That's it.
Technically, this
My
would work
phone's ringing.
federally. Literally,
And
anyone in the
that's-
United States
Right, you can do
could
that.
actually jump on there, and Kurt could help you out with that bankruptcy.
Well, and it'd be pertinent too. I think that's the other thing. There's times where you may just have a question about how it works, and then
Yeah,
you'd be,
absolutely.
I was on a website today, and there was a person in Indiana asking a question. For some reason, a Florida attorney responds and says, "Well, you should talk to an Indiana attorney," which I immediately thought,
Right.
Why are you
doing
logging
that?
this up then?
Yeah, why answer wrong?
and so, but in bankruptcy and immigration, those
Federal,
are
so we
things
can do
that-
whatever.
yeah, it's going to be the same all over the country.
Because they're at the federal level, not the
Right.
state level.
Yeah.
So the federal level.
Procedurally, within each area, there's some minor differences as
Yeah.
far as just how you do things and
Value
approach
and
things.
like that.
Different, like
Sure.
for Chapter 13 is different 13 plans. Like Illinois has its own 13 plan
Mhm.
that you have to use, where Indiana's kind of the national plan. It's just kind of a general 13 thing.
Got it.
So there's some differences there, but other than that, that's just procedural stuff. The law is the same.
Who's blogging this week?
That's me.
What are you writing
Awesome.
That
Topic
was
it.
already presented.
about? What? Your
That's what I'm
contract?
talking about. Yeah.
The special,
well, you
the
didn't-
special K or the
You were just sort of
the
talking
simple
about
K?
it in a
The simple K.
It's
in the
Float.
ether, but I didn't know that was
Okay.
what you
Well, I was
blogged
trying to
about.
make
Awesome.
No.
So if you visit
I-
CCSK
it was a
Law,
really good setup.
You
Yeah,
can.
Real life.
I like
the
it.
statute, simplifying it. I was like, this is it.
Here we
This
go.
is my
Here we
door.
go.
But where might I find this?
On the CCSKLaw.com.
Yes.
Right on the front page, you scroll down a little bit, or click on blog, and you'll get the most recent blogs.
There you go.
I wrote one last week because I ran into 2 people on dealing with Medicaid issues or not Medicaid issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one person petrified that anything she did was going to cause her mother to never be able to go into a nursing home, and she was going to lose all of her money. The daughter, not just mom's money, but daughter was concerned about her losing her money too, and was able to walk through some things to think through and organize and see where she is in the process. And the other one was a situation, very sad, but as sad as it was one of those things I said, this is going to sound wrong.
That's one of the
That's
suitcases.
the sound of
Should take
votes
put
rolling
a
back to
bunch
the
of votes in there.
courthouse.
There's stuff the
Um,
ballot.
But the mother was far enough along in her diagnosis that she had been put on a hospice track, which, if you have a terminal condition diagnosed to end within 5 months, you can be flipped to hospice. And that is actually, as strange as it may seem, a better situation. Because you come back on Medicare, they are way over the top in terms
You mean
of making
financially?
care
Care?
and
Okay.
coverage.
Oh, okay.
Care and coverage both, because it comes back into the Medicare system, and they are very aggressive about making sure that people get the right level of care for hospice. It can be in home, it can be in a facility, and that's what I went out to visit the folks in Wanata, and it was a big relief because their concern was, we're going to lose the farm. Literally, they have a farm, and I said, no, none of this is in jeopardy now because we're not worried about Medicaid. So writing about that one this week. So
Excellent.
we'll finish that up because a lot of times people's fear of Medicaid is completely unwarranted. So just try to help clear that up for people.
Yep.
So
Sounds good.
So you can follow along with us on CCSK Law. We'll wait with
Send us a
great
message.
anticipation about the election results. There's a line out the door now.
Ooh, everybody's showing up.
Yeah, how about
All the
that?
votes are
I don't know
showing
how many voting precincts we have.
A lot.
It appears at least
Because it's going to be all counted. The whole county's
30
coming here.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
They all come here.
So they're all
It's a pretty good sized county,
Figure each
so-
township's going to have so many. And
Yeah. So our little, I don't think we had any school referendums this time around. Nobody doing anything.
everybody be. That's why
Don't
parking
think
was
so.
Not here. I think there were a couple in Lake County that I saw.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
anyway,
I'm excited for Lake County to hopefully get on Odyssey here on the 21st.
yeah.
I might be picking up a criminal case in Lake County.
It's e-filing.
nice to-
It's an electronic filing
It would
for
be nice to
attorneys.
have
It makes
e-filing.
processing a lot easier, but Lake
Yeah.
County, I know, has been hesitant to jump
So
on.
you got to drive over there unless you want
Which I'll
to
be
buy
doing
into their
tomorrow
system.
Go through
because
the
I have
complex-
to try to
going
get
to
a.
the complex.
I have to get a probate through pretty
Excellent.
quickly, so I can't wait till the 21st.
It's a nice
Uh,
drive though.
Yeah, and it's
30. It's
Yeah.
not
Right.
stressful.
right down
30,
30,
nice.
right into the
Love
Into
going
complex.
fast.
giant
This
complex.
Giant. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Try to
it's-
find your way around the halls there.
Yep. So we'll see.
So,
Hopefully, I've only done that
CCSK
twice, and I don't. This will be the second time I've actually gone
There you
through
go.
the walkthrough process on probate in Lake County.
Nice.
So
I've gotten lost in there quite a few times.
yeah, I'm not.
I used to work over there for one of the judges when we were in law school, so a little familiar with it.
A little bit. Okay.
So are you volunteering? You're going to take that?
Oh, it was very nice of you, Kurt.
Sorry,
Thanks.
can't.
Aw.
Busy tomorrow.
Generous.
Yeah.
I've
Anyway.
got something.
CCSKLaw.com. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you have questions, you can always
we got
leave them and we'll get back to you. Or we've got a little message form on the website if you want to drop your specific circumstance that you're looking for help. We'll get it routed to the right attorney and get back with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. Thanks
See you later.
for having some nice weather to be able to enjoy.
Oh, yeah.